From homeless black man to millionaire, the story behind Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It sounds like a wild headline, right? From homeless black man to millionaire. And somehow, it pulls in Elon Musk and Donald Trump, like three pieces of some big puzzle nobody saw coming. The kind of story you don't just read, but one that grabs your gut and twists it hard. Picture this: a former president, used to gold towers and massive crowds, suddenly stuck inside a tiny, crowded KFC. No flashing cameras, no luxury cars, just the smell of fried chicken and spilled soda. It's a place you wouldn't expect history to leak from. Yet that's exactly where Donald Trump found himself one chaotic afternoon, just when the world felt unsettled and every second was a cliffhanger. Here's the kicker: a black homeless woman named Malika, wrapped in layers of worn clothes and stories darker than the deepest night, slid onto the seat beside him. She wasn't just any homeless woman. There was fire in her eyes. His chest tightened. His hands trembled as if dust from her past was rubbing off on him. And the walls closed in with questions he never thought to ask. What was success? What mattered when every choice echoed through pain? His usual armor of confidence felt fragile, cracking beneath the weight of someone else's survival story. Watching from a distance, in the shadows of swirling chaos, was Elon Musk, cooler than an Arctic night, sharper than a laser beam. Musk's eyes glinted with curiosity and something darker, rivalry mixed with cold calculation. He was waiting for this moment to unfold, for Trump's walls to crumble just enough to dig in. The tech billionaire's mind raced. How to use this strange connection to his advantage. A secret like this wasn't just a story, it was a weapon. Suddenly, the peaceful normalcy shattered. A loud bang outside made heads snap toward the window. Malika's face went pale, the fire in her eyes flickering to fear. Her past wasn't done with her. No, it was catching up fast. A secret, buried deep, linked to a dangerous truth she thought dead, now clawed its way back into the light, dragging them both into a storm neither expected. Whispers rose. Patrons stared. Phones flickered to life. What was this woman hiding? Why was Trump hanging on her every word? There was something here. Something bigger than fried chicken or power deals. The air thickened with tension, the kind that stays in your lungs long after you leave the room. In that small KFC, fate twisted their lives tighter, binding two stranger worlds in a web of danger, truth, and uneasy hope. And while Elon watched, the question wasn't just what Malika's secret was, but how far would Trump go to protect it? And their new, tangled alliance. The truth waited just beyond the next door. But would they both survive to see it? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact! The truth waited just beyond the next door. But would they both survive to see it? The tension clung thick in the air, a tangible weight, as Malika drew in a shuddering breath. Her heart raced, and the flicker of fear danced in her eyes. Outside, chaos bled through the small KFC. Sirens wailed in the distance, and shadows loomed larger. The moment coiled tight, ready to unravel. Suddenly, the door burst open, spilling blinding daylight into the dim room. A tall figure stood there, silhouetted against the glare. The room froze, voices hushed, breaths held. Malika's gasp cut through the silence. It was him, the man from her past. Khalid, his menacing smile sent chills racing down her spine. The way he took a step into the crowded restaurant felt like the rumble before a storm. He was the wrong kind of person to meet in any quiet corner. There was history, and it was ugly. "Malika," he called out, his voice oozing danger. "You thought you could run forever?" Trump's body stiffened, recognizing the threat before any word reached his ears. The playbook he had used to navigate boardrooms didn't apply here. A ripple of unease swept through the patrons. Phones were raised, fingers trembling over screens. "Stay out of this, Trump," Khalid added, eyes narrowing. "You wouldn't want to get involved in matters you can't handle." Malika's hands shook, her mind racing. No, this wasn't happening. Not now. Not here. She glanced at Trump, who leaned forward like a wary animal, trying to gauge his next move. Elon remained in the background, his expression unreadable, eyes darting between the unfolding drama and the doorway. "Don't you dare come any closer!" Malika yelled, her voice cracking but fierce, filled with the primal instinct of survival. The rawness of her past ignited a fire within. But Khalid laughed, a dark, mocking sound that echoed. "What are you gonna do, Malika? Make a scene in front of all your friends? This is beyond you now." The patrons shuffled in uncertainty, eyes darting between the three figures in a web of fateful connections. Trump's chest tightened. He felt drawn to Malika's determination. But a rush of doubt clawed at him. Was she even worth the fight? He turned slightly toward her, searching for an answer in her eyes. But they only painted a haunted picture. Then a loud crash echoed against the walls. A window shattered, glass sparkling like deadly rain. Someone screamed, a string of voices erupting into chaos. And in that instant of shock, the truth slipped out. A small bag, unnoticed until now, fell from Khalid's jacket onto the floor. It skidded, opening slightly, revealing neatly stacked envelopes, each marked with a different insignia. Whispers erupted around the room. "What was that? Is it money?" Malika's heart dropped. She recognized them. They were not just letters. They were blueprints, plans for something huge and dangerous. Khalid was a key player in operations she had spent years escaping. A world she had thought she'd left behind. The room spun. Trump's expression shifted from concern to understanding, his powerful instinct kicking in. "What the hell are you mixed up in, Malika?" he demanded, his voice sharp. Malika stared at Khalid, then back at Trump, her mind racing. Was this her moment to take back control? Or a trap designed to drag them all down? You don't know. You have no idea what he's capable of. She gasped, her voice trembling with the weight of lost years. Elon leaned forward, the glimmer of ambition igniting in his eyes. This wasn't just a showdown. It was a chance to turn the tide. He could feel the shift in the room. The danger now felt like opportunity, ripe for the taking. And then, in the chaos, her past collided violently with the present. The room held its breath. Malika was left with a weight too heavy to carry alone. One choice, one path. And now, the lines between safety and danger blurred into a chaotic swirl. Would she stand and fight, or would she run? The answer suddenly felt too far away, lost in the whirlwind of lives that had tangled together for this moment. And the question hung heavy. Who would walk away, and at what cost? As the loud bang echoed outside, the chaos focused. Malika's breath hitched. The haunting specter of her past had returned. But this time, the shadows looked menacing, sharp, dangerous. Trump's eyes widened, not just shoulders hunched in uncertainty. This was a different kind of weight. Something terrible sat heavy on the air, clutching at his throat. A moment later, it happened. The door swung open, slamming against the wall, and a figure stepped inside, drenched in darkness. It was a man from her past, jagged and crumbled like broken glass, wearing an expression that screamed intentions better left unspoken. The patrons froze. Conversations stuttered to silence. "Malika!" he growled, voice coated with layers of malice and familiarity. "You thought you could run?" A collective gasp arose. Heads turned, eyes widened. Malika's face drained of color, terror licking at her bones like a fire. This man, its dark reminder, wasn't just a ghost. He was the monster that haunted her dreams, the architect of her agony. Trump fumbled, words stuck in his throat. "What is going on?" But no one was listening. All eyes were glued on Malika as she shrank back, fear wrapping around her like barbed wire. The sense of urgency cracked like a whip, demanding answers. Elon, on the sidelines, leaned in closer. His mind raced. This was gold, but treasure trove of secrets he could exploit. But just as quickly as the thought formed, an unsettling chill slithered down his spine. In the chaos, he sensed something deep and unsettling. Was Malika hiding more than just a tragic past? The man stepped forward, his presence looming like a storm cloud. "You owe me, Malika," he spat, each word a dagger. "You can't hide from what we did. You can't hide from me." The air pulsed, thick and suffocating. Malika's hands shook, tears pooling in her eyes. She looked at Trump, really looked, and in that moment, her gaze reflected 1,000 stories of pain, survival, and the unbearable weight of her choices. "I can't," she whispered, voice cracking under the strain. "I thought it was over." Trump's bravado wavered, his power slipping like sand through his fingers. He saw something in Malika that shook him to his core, an unbreakable bond that transcended the gilded walls he built. Who was this woman? And what did she owe this man? Then the unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, Elon surged forward, a wild glint in his eye. "You need to leave her alone," he said, his voice cold but protective. It was a strange twist, a billionaire stepping up for someone nobody noticed. The man's expression shifted, confusion flickering across his face. "You don't know what you're getting into!" "Stay out of it, kid." But Elon opened his mouth, ready to reveal more than just his concern. "You can't threaten her," he charged. "She deserves a chance, and you're not the one to take that away." In that shocking moment, the turbulence shifted. Suddenly, the heads turned to Elon, whispers spiraled, and a new tension unfurled like a banner caught in the wind. All eyes were on the trio at the center of the storm. The homeless woman, the former president, and the tech mogul, all bound together in a web thicker than they realized. What was Malika's secret? What unspoken horrors tied them all together? And why was Elon intervening, almost as if he had something to hide too? The darkness swelled as the man stepped closer, rage simmering like a boiling pot. It felt like everything was hanging by a thread, just waiting for one more spark. Would they unravel? Or would the truth finally cut through the fear? The answer waited, lurking in the crowd, ready to unleash chaos on that small KFC once and for all. Malika's breath caught in her throat as the man stepped closer, an oppressive heat radiating off him. Trump's jaw clenched. Elon remained steady, a glimmer of defiance in his eyes. But in that charged moment, their intensity was nearly forgotten as the atmosphere shifted in an instant. From somewhere behind Khalid, a loud crash pierced through the restaurant. The entrance doors flew open again, this time more violently, sending everyone's heads whipping around. A group of heavily armed men stormed in. Black uniforms, masks obscuring their faces. Their presence electrified the air, making every hair on Malika's body stand on end. They moved like shadows, calculated and quick. Khalid spun around, his bravado crumbling. One of the masked men stepped forward with an unsettling calmness that screamed authority. "Secure the area. We're not here for you," he ordered, voice cold and dripping with menace. In an instant, the vibe shifted again, palpable fear washing over the room. Patrons screamed, trying to flee, chairs clattering. Malika felt her heart pound in her chest, a drum of panic. She glanced at Trump, who stood firm. But his eyes told a different story, a flicker of surprise that could easily turn to anger. "Get down!" a voice shouted, as one of the masked men raised his weapon, scanning the crowd. Elon's instincts kicked in. He pushed forward, adrenaline surging. "What do you want?" he demanded, voice steady, lips pressed tight. This wasn't a boardroom. This was life and death. "Stay out of it, kid," the man snapped, the barrel of his weapon pointing toward the ground, but the threat unmistakable. Khalid backed away, confusion flashing on his face. But Malika saw an entirely different reality. She understood now. Khalid wasn't just her past. He was a pawn in something greater, a game that had left no place for her in its welcome. Was he in league with these men? "Malika," Khalid growled, eyes alight with a dangerous mixture of fury and fear. "You have no idea what you've started. You don't get to run away from this." But then the masked man took another step forward, hand raised. "Enough!" He turned to Khalid, and the air got thicker. "We're here for the package. It's not about you." Malika's blood ran cold. Package? She hadn't signed up for any of this. Her breaths quickened. Desperation clawed at her throat. Was she the package? Did they mean her? Then the room shifted again. Did I mean that? You all know what's happening. The man, hardened and calculating, reached into his jacket and pulled out a device. Something that looked incredibly high-tech. The faces in the room turned pale. "Make this easy for yourself, Malika. We know everything," he said. And with that, he pressed a button. The device flickered to life, illuminating the fear on everyone's faces. And then it hit her. A flash of recognition. This was no ordinary moment. She wasn't just a survivor of her past. She was a key player in a clandestine operation, one she'd been unknowingly entangled in for years. Suddenly, it all crashed down on her. The letters, the plans. Khalid wasn't just a ghost. He represented shadows that had chased her. But here was the twist. She had been the one holding the truth all along. She didn't just escape. She had hidden something monumental. Trump's eyes widened in realization. He looked from Khalid to Malika, the meaning dawning like a thunderbolt. "What have you been dragging us into?" he asked, voice low. "I never wanted any of this," Malika whispered, feeling trapped. A pawn in a game where the stakes just raised higher. And just like that, the mask slipped. Malika saw the flicker in Elon's eyes, a weight she hadn't noticed before. "You knew," she murmured. "Malika!" he shouted, panic slicing through his calm demeanor as another loud crash shattered the tension. But it was too late. They had stepped into something way beyond their control, and as the masked figures closed in, lines blurred and loyalties shifted. None of them had expected this twist. What if everything they thought was true was a lie? Malika was the very thing they needed to unravel, a reality wrapped in darkness. The whole restaurant felt the pull of danger, the stakes rising higher by the second. As shadows danced around them, the question hung like smoke in the air. What would they do next? The tension hung thick in the air, clutching at their throats like an iron grip. Malika's eyes darted to the window, pulse racing. Outside, chaos erupted. The sound of breaking glass mingling with the distant wail of sirens. But wasn't just a noise. It felt like a warning, a herald of something far darker. "What was that?" she whispered, voice trembling. Trump leaned closer, the bravado he wore cracking under the pressure. "You okay?" he asked. But his eyes gave away everything. He wasn't asking for her sake. He needed to know if she was a potential liability. Before she could respond, the door swung open. In stormed 3 stern figures, clad in dark suits, faces like stone. The room dropped into stunned silence. The smell of fried chicken faded, replaced by something sharper. Fear. "Marika!" One of them shouted, voice booming. "We've been looking for you!" She stiffened, the color draining from her face. Recognition flashed like lightning across her features, and the fire in her eyes dimmed to embers. "Who are you?" Trump said, the threat sinking into him like a lead weight. "Just your friendly neighborhood debt collectors!" The man sneered, stepping closer, menacing. "You've left a trail, Malika, a very dangerous one." Musk's gaze narrowed, measuring the chaos in real time. This was big, too big. Angling for control of the situation, he slipped out his phone, ready to document this volatile moment. A rare chance to leverage the vulnerability of two titans of popularity caught in the crossfire. Malika shifted, tension swirling in her voice. "I thought you promised you'd leave me alone." Promises broken and bruised. That word echoed like a gunshot, sending shivers through the tiny dining area. She was not just a homeless woman, but a figure caught in a web of secrets, and now she was a target. The trio pushed forward, invading her personal space, advancing like wolves closing in on prey. "You think hiding will save you? We know the truth. We know what you took." "What I took?" Her voice rose in defiance, summer storms rumbling beneath the surface. "I didn't take anything." "You're lying." But truth can be slippery, hidden under layers of survival instincts. The patrons shifted uncomfortably. Some snatched phones into hands, recording the unfolding drama, sharing snippets of Malika's plight. Caught in the net of social media like fish in a barrel, Musk's insatiable curiosity shifted to alarm. This was turning into a spectacle, and he needed to decide. Should he expose the truth or protect the woman whose past reverberated dangerously close to his own? "Let's say," one of the men interrupted, "this little history of yours, it has implications beyond what you understand. And your friends here," he motioned to Trump and Musk, "they'll be implicated too." A collective gasp swept through the KFC. Shock painted the faces of those present. The walls pressed in closer, suffocating. Trump looked between Malika and the dark suits, calculating. This was his world, a world of deals and betrayals. But could he risk his reputation for a woman he barely knew? Questions bled through his mind, but he couldn't show weakness. Without warning, a loud crash erupted from the window, the sound of a brick shattering glass. The room froze. Everyone's eyes followed the chaos outside, where shadows surged, a crowd forming, too many hidden faces and too much noise. "Time's up," the lead man said, leaning down so closely that Malika could smell his sweat, a rank concoction of fear and desperation. The unthinkable possibility slid into the air, thickening it. What if Malika wasn't just a victim? What if she had a part in whatever web was being spun? As the stakes spiraled, with the tension straining, the scene darkened, and all of them, Trump, Musk, Malika, felt the weight of unknown truths snarling just beneath the surface. The question hovered. Who was hunting whom? In that moment, everything shifted. The alliances being woven in real time turned to ash, and just when time seemed to hold its breath, the floor gave way under them. What awaited them on the other side of that chaos? What buried horrors would claw their way back the moment they stepped through the threshold? The truth lurked, waiting to be unleashed. The air in the KFC hung heavy with questions. Fear coursing through the small crowd as the loud bang echoed like a gunshot. Malika's wide eyes darted toward the window, her heart racing. She instinctively leaned closer to Trump, who looked unnerved, a bead of sweat forming on his brow. What had she dragged him into? Elon, still lurking like a hawk, watched the scene unfold with a mix of fascination and anticipation. He shifted his weight, his mind running loops, a strategy emerging in that instant. He could turn this chaos to his advantage. But how? Then a shout cut through the stillness. "Get down! A man burst through the door, a wild look on his face, eyes filled with terror. He was holding what looked like a gun. The cold metal glinted under the fluorescent lights. The crowd gasped, hands flying to mouths, whispers spiraling with panic. It was pure chaos. Malika shrank into her worn layers, her past now a shadow looming over her. "No, not again," she whispered, fear clawing at her throat. Hadn't she suffered enough? The gunman's eyes locked onto her with a ferocity that sent her heart tumbling into her stomach. "You," he roared, pointing the weapon straight at her. "You thought you could just leave?" Donald Trump's world shattered in an instant. His bravado replaced with adrenaline. "What do you want?" he yelled, hands raised in a mix of fear and authority. But the man was relentless. His focus narrowed like a predator on a single prey. Malika's heart thudded, memories flashing like a film reel. This was no ordinary threat. This was someone from her past. Somebody who knew every scar, every wound. "No, please, you don't want to do this," she tried, her voice trembling but edged with desperate strength. Each word fighting against the fear. The surrounding customers were frozen, half hidden behind tables, some dialing their phones, others too shocked to move. Whispers twisted into a collective gasp when Malika finally looked up, her eyes ablaze with an unexpected fire. "You really think you can control my life?" Suddenly, the man hesitated, confusion rippling across his face. "Control? It's about survival!" He raged, but it wavered, the gun lowering slightly. "You should have stayed gone." "Gone?" Malika echoed, her voice rising with strength, pushing against the moment like a wave crashing against a shore. "You think I forgot? You think I won't fight?" She stood tall, defiance emanating from her. "I'm not who you used to know. You can't drag me back, not this time." And just like that, the air shifted. Trump, who had been a mere observer, felt a stirring of unexpected allegiance. He stepped forward, positioning himself as a shield. "You will not threaten her here!" The bold declaration hung in the air, a surprising bond forming in the chaos. Elon's mind raced, taking in this new dynamic, a web woven tighter around the three, as fear morphed into something more powerful. Nothing was what it seemed. Relationships were on shaky ground. "Look around, man!" the gunman yelled, voice shaking. "The past comes back to bite, and you're not safe. None of you are." He took a shaky breath, eyes darting toward the door, real fear creeping in as sirens shrieked in the distance. In that moment, Malika's whole world crumbled and rebuilt itself in an instant. A truth long hidden surfaced, and she turned towards Trump and Elon, eyes piercing. "No more lies, no more running. This is just the beginning." The storm was brewing, and deep down, each of them knew nothing would ever be the same again. The tension thickened in that little KFC, a kind of weighty silence wrapping around Trump, Malika, and everyone else in the room. The air buzzed like a live wire. Malika's wide eyes darted to the window, apprehensive and fearful. Then, just as suddenly as she went pale, the sound of breaking glass shattered the moment. A brick crashed through the window, and chaos erupted. People screamed, tables toppled. The smell of fried chicken turned bitter as panic reigned. Malika shrank back, her body trembling. Pure panic etched on her face. Trump instinctively leaned forward, shielding her from the onslaught of flying debris and human chaos. He could feel his heart pounding out of his chest, a wild drumbeat of adrenaline and dread. But then, amidst the screams and confusion, a familiar face slid into the restaurant, weaving through startled patrons like a shadow. Elijah, Malika's son. But this wasn't the little boy who used to play with cardboard rockets. No, he was a man now, hardened and visibly haunted, with scars lining his arms, a look of desperation in his eyes. "Mom!" he shouted, voice cracking as he pushed through the crowd. The moment their eyes met was electric, shocking in its intensity. It was as if the world outside had vanished, leaving only the desperate connection between them. "Elijah, what's going on?" Malika gasped, reaching out. The fear in her voice sliced through the din. But before he could respond, a group of men stormed in behind him, faces masked and aggression dripping from their body language. Malika's breath hitched. She knew who they were. "Get away from her!" Elijah yelled, his voice deeper, colder. The tension shifted again. It surged like a wave, crashing down with the weight of realization that hung overhead like storm clouds about to burst. The gang wasn't just a random threat. They were remnants of Malika's past, the demons that pushed her into homelessness. They had come to reclaim what they thought belonged to them, a debt long overdue, forgotten but never forgiven. And in that moment, everything changed. Trump stood frozen. A potent mix of fear and realization coursed through him. This wasn't just a woman with a rough story. This was a woman fighting for her life. He looked at Malika's face, the anguish spilling out, and suddenly the walls he had built around his own life cracked further. What did he actually stand for? Was it power or something deeper? He needed to know more. Elon, hovering like a hawk, had his own thoughts. His mind raced, not with fear, but with opportunity. This had taken a twist he never expected, but surprise was his game. Instinctively, he pulled out his phone, ready to capture this viral moment, an unfiltered glimpse into the heart of darkness. A shout of rage broke through the air as one of the masked men lunged toward Malika. Time slowed. Malika stepped back. But Elijah was faster. He pushed her aside. Then there was a single shot. A gun rang out, the noise deafening in the small space. Everything stopped. ... Eyes widened, breath caught in throats. The chaotic world collapsed into a single screaming moment. But who fell, and what did it mean? As the room held its breath, everything felt poised on the brink. Could hope survive this calamity? And what did it mean for the unlikely alliance twisted in this web of danger? With the dust still settling, shadows danced, and lives hung in the balance, waiting for fate to unfold its next chapter. The gunshot echoed like a thunderclap through the chaos of the KFC. Time slowed. Malika's heart raced, eyes darting between Elijah and the masked man. Was he hurt? Did he push her out of the way just in time? The world blurred, the horrified gasps of onlookers, the sounds of glass crunching underfoot, the acrid smell of fear thick in the air. Mom! Elijah's voice pierced through. He dropped to his knees, pain etched across his features. No! Please! But everything stopped. The masked man crumpled to the floor, weapon slipping from his grasp. A look of shock spattered across his face, confusion mingling with sudden stillness. The room held its breath, silent and frozen in disbelief. Then, as reality began to settle, Malika stared at Elijah, her son, as horror turned to shock within her. "What did you do?" she whispered, eyes wide, heart racing. Panic twisted tight inside her chest. This was not how it was supposed to go. Elijah's gaze flicked to her, a whirlwind of emotion. And in that instant, something shifted. "I couldn't let them hurt you. I didn't mean to." But the words faltered, a frantic plea wrapped in panic. Trump's face grew paler, eyes flitting between Malika and Elijah. The weight of the moment clawed at him. What just happened? The power dynamic shifted quicker than he could grasp. Elijah wasn't just fighting for his mother. He had just taken a life, a gut-wrenching decision echoing louder than the gunshot itself. Elon stood off to the side, heart pounding. He felt the room vibrating with a shocking twist. This wasn't just a scene worth filming. This was a life-altering moment that would widen the rift between every character present. "What the hell?" he muttered, disbelief merging with a sense of opportunity. Malika's past, now clutching the present, was devastatingly intricate. Outside, sirens whirred closer, the chaos outside creeping in, a reminder that this wasn't just their story anymore. This was real, messy, and urgent. The walls closed in. People scrambled to grab their things, but most were locked in shock, unsure whether to run or stand and watch. Fear crept into Malika's heart. She faced the truth of that moment and saw something too dark for her son to carry alone. She saw the weight of guilt, spiraling desperation, a past she couldn't protect him from. "Elijah, we need to get out, now!" But before he could respond, a second group of men burst through the door. The very gang she had tried to escape from. They charged in, their presence suffocating, unyielding. The flickering lights cast long shadows, and they were all too real, lethal, and determined, not just to retrieve Elijah, but to erase the threat Malika had become. She moved instinctively to shield him, body trembling. "Stop right there!" one shouted, eyes narrowing. The moment now swirled. Choices raced through Malika's mind. Protect her son? Face the monsters chasing her? The world was spinning, and decisions loomed large. Then, a blinding light filled the room, bathing the chaos in sudden clarity. A figure stepped through the doors, just as the building shook. A hit from outside? Another crashing sound cut through the panic, and a roar of an engine broke the bewilderment. The scene seemed to explode, spilling out new colors of chaos. As smoke rose around them, the figure strode forward, wielding a badge. An undercover officer. "I'm here for Malika," he bellowed, and the words hit her like a hammer. What did he know? How did he find her? As the dance of uncertainty spiraled, eyes locked recklessly, relationships pivoted like tightropes ready to snap. Was she really the target? Or the unwitting leader in a story that was far darker than she realized? And just as the realization unraveled around them, a voice echoed from the back, chilling the air. It was Khalid, somehow alive, somehow still a part of this twisted party. "You think this is over, Malika? You have no idea what's coming." With that sinister remark, the room transformed into a battleground, under the weight of its own secrets, a fate hanging precariously as the sirens wailed louder, drawing closer. What would she do now? And who really was the enemy? Would she ever escape the ghosts chasing her? The room turned electric under the weight of Khalid's chilling words. Malika's heart raced, every beat echoing the fear and uncertainty swirling around her. Trump's posture stiffened. He knew danger when he saw it. Elon's demeanor shifted, his calculating mind spinning faster than before. A shadow crept over the trio, thickening like fog. "Get down!" someone yelled, but no one moved. The undercurrent of tension had taken hold like a vice grip. Khalid stepped closer, a dark smile creeping across his face, a smile not of victory, but of twisted amusement. "You think this is an ending?" he taunted, the world around them almost fading away. "It's just the beginning." And suddenly, the ground beneath their feet shook. The KFC restaurant vibrated violently, chandeliers rattling. The sirens outside shrieked like banshees, the noise drowning out everything else. People screamed, hands clawing at tables, desperately holding on. Then, out of nowhere, a blinding light engulfed the entire space. It was magnetic, pulling everyone's gaze, filling the room with a burning glow. The blare of sirens mixed with the flash as if reality itself was splintering. What could it be? A bomb? A tactical team storming in? No one knew. But the moment lasted, stretching time like a tight rubber band about to snap. Then, just as quickly, clarity returned, and a figure emerged from the shimmering light. A woman, tall and fierce, stepped forward with an authority that silenced the chaos around her. She radiated power. This wasn't just any woman. It was a ghost from Malika's past, one she thought was lost forever. "Yasmin?" Malika breathed, confusion and dread flooding her senses. Yasmin was the woman who had once pulled Malika from the depths, the leader of an underground operation that had sworn to protect the destitute and the poor. But also, she was the very reason Malika ran away years ago. "What are you doing here?" Yasmin's gaze moved swiftly to Khalid, a smirk on her lips. "Oh, you're still as predictable as ever," she declared, voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Did you really think you could hide forever?" Her eyes glinted, revealing a darkness that edged close to madness. As the weight of old wounds reopened, time froze again, as Ball eyes shifted to her. "I heard there was a new queen in town." Jasmine grinned, addressing Malika. "But we were always meant to be partners. Didn't you get my emails?" Malika's shock morphed into anger. "You left me to drown. You said it was too dangerous." Each word felt like a slap. She remembered the betrayal, the crushing weight of abandonment. Elon shifted uneasily, watching the exchange unfold. This was no longer a mere hostage situation. The drama was three-dimensional, layering betrayal, hidden agendas, and the impending danger that had them all in its chokehold. "Jasmine!" Khalid proteste, eyes darting. "You're a forgetful fool if you think this will end well for you. They don't know you like I do." Malika felt something inside of her snap. A realization dawned, heavy and consuming. The very foundation of her world was built on lies. Jasmine wasn't just an ally. She was part of the chaos that had entwined Malika in its deadly dance. Every chance of delivering her so-called freedom had been nothing but a setup. Suddenly, she turned on her, rage bubbling to the surface. "You lied! You used me to gain power, didn't you?" A jarring silence followed, thick enough to slice. Everyone felt it, suddenly unsure of who was friend and who was foe. But then an unexpected twist ripped through the air. Jasmine pulled out a device, one that looked similar to a detonator. "What if I told you, Malika, that this is all a setup? You're not just a pawn, you're the queen they want. The game always was about you." As her words hung painfully in the air, a devastating truth hit Malika like a tidal wave. The room crackled, eyes widening at the realization shared between them. She was the center of a dark game, one in which every choice had been orchestrated, every moment manipulated from the start. Was she even truly free? The world around her ripped apart, revealing a chasm of truth that threatened to swallow them whole. And just like that, with one act of betrayal unmasked, the game changed forever. What would happen next? Would the betrayal bond them together, or would it ignite a war too powerful to contain? The room's tension clung to them like a thick fog, and Malika felt the heat radiating from the device in Jasmine's hand. "Malika," Jasmine said, her voice smooth, almost inviting. "You need to understand, you're the key to all this." "Stop playing games," Malika shot back, a fierce fire igniting within her. "You're not twisting my life into a chess match anymore. I'm not your pawn." Khalid stepped forward, a smirk curling on his lips. "You think you can stand against us? You're surrounded." Outside, the sirens grew louder, echoing like a battle cry. In the face of overwhelming danger, Malika could feel the weight of her son's life pressing heavily on her. She didn't know if she could protect him. "Not now. Mom!" Elijah's voice trembled, full of urgency. "What are we going to do?" Her heart tightened. "We fight!" she whispered, determination creeping in. Whatever game they were playing, she wouldn't back down. Elon eyed the chaos, calculating each moment. This was more than a split-second decision. It was survival. "Put the device down, Jasmine," he demanded, stepping closer. "Let's talk this out. We don't have to let it escalate." "Escalate?" Jasmine scoffed, her gaze steady. "This was already escalating the moment you decided to live in her shadow." Everyone held their breath, the power dynamics shifting rapidly. Malika felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, the wind threatening to toss her over. This wasn't just about her. It was about everyone in the room. Suddenly, Trump found his voice, grounding the moment. "Enough! Let's not turn this into a bloodbath. We need to get out of here." With that, a loud crash. One of the masked intruders who had stormed in snatched the device from Jasmine's hand. "This ends now," he yelled, shoving Jasmine aside. But she regrouped, fury in her eyes. "Stay out of this." She quickened her pace, moving to reclaim her control. But it was too late. Chaos erupted. Patrons surged toward the doors, but bodies collided in the frantic scramble. Malika felt the fear ripple around her. They were in the line of fire, both physically and emotionally. Would they survive this night? Elijah grabbed Malika's hand, grounding her. "Mom, we have to act." "Together," she breathed. "We do this together." In a tense standoff, the gunmen traded glances, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. The weapon was pulled tighter, fists clenched, and everything felt razor-thin. It was a terrifying precipice, as if the universe itself sensed the desperation. Outside the KFC, the sirens reached a deafening peak, pulling their attention toward the doorway. "The cops are here!" one of the intruders hissed, eyes darting back to his partner. The shift in the atmosphere was palpable. Malika didn't hesitate. "Now! Move!" In one fluid motion, they rushed toward the exit, Malika leading the way, her heart hammering. Trump and Elon followed, and Elijah stayed close, their bond strengthening as they charged into the light of sirens. Outside, a swarm of officers erupted onto the scene. The cacophony of commands and shouts filled the air. She spotted a familiar face, a detective she once knew. "Malika!" he shouted, eyes wide with urgency. "Get to safety." But she couldn't. The truth surged back into her. "I need to help him," she insisted, pointing back into the chaos. "He's scared." Elijah's frightened face locked onto hers, begging for reassurance. "Always be brave," she told him, squeezing his hand. "Not just for you, but for those who can't fight." With that, potential confronted reality, and the tide of chaos seemed ready to break. The masked gang was on the retreat now, trapped between the law and the determination of a mother, with nothing left to lose. And suddenly, with a flurry of movement, Jasmine lunged forward, attempting one last desperate grab on Malika's arm. But the detective tackled her to the ground, securing the chaos. The dust settled slowly. The surge of adrenaline wound down, and Malika caught her breath. The moment hung, the line between victory and loss blurry, but still standing. Elijah's eyes searched hers, hope glowing beneath the fear. "Mom, are we safe?" She wanted to say yes, so badly, but she couldn't promise what she didn't know. "We'll be okay, I promise," she whispered, though self-doubt prickled at her heart. And as the sirens dwindled in the background, the web of their tangled lives widened again, each thread vibrating with uncertainty, every face lined with the shadows of their past. What lay ahead was still a mystery. What was their story? But one thing was clear. Their lives were woven together now, no matter what chaos had led them to this moment. And just as thoughts swirled in the air, Malika felt a pulse of determination ignite within her. The world had shifted, and whatever came next, they would face it together. But as they began to process what just happened, echoes of unanswered questions lingered. Who else was out there waiting? What other secrets lay in the dark? You have to subscribe now. Don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories that will dive deeper into this compelling saga. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help the channel grow. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this unexpected ending. Let's hear what you think. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how it all unfolds. Your support means everything.